this would have been a multiple six-figure replacement job. The total project cost for this one was $25,090.
Welcome to Project Deep Dive. Hey, I'm Ty McBride, founder of Preservan, and on this episode, we're going to dive deep into one of our projects that our local franchise owner completed last year and really get an understanding of what Preservan does, how it does it, and who it does it for. You're really going to enjoy this episode. Hey, Ben, it's really awesome to have you here today, and I'm really excited to talk through what I think was your largest project last year, and really just kind of understand the project, really from end to end, like what did we do? And we're going to be using our company cam software photos to kind of walk us through. But Ben, let's just start at the very beginning and set the stage for, what kind of house it was that we worked on, where the house was at in your market. You're in Dallas, and just kind of tell me a little bit about just the project as a whole, as a house.
Yeah, super happy to be here. Excited to talk about this, what was our largest project for the year. So yeah, jumping in, this project, it's a gorgeous house, as you can see.
Yeah.
It's in Preston Hollow, which is one of the kind of old premier neighborhoods in Dallas.
Okay.
It's there are a lot of very gorgeous homes in that area.
Do you work in this area very often?
We did. We work in Preston Hollow frequently, and we always want to do more there if we can.
I think as we go through these photos, we're going to understand why you want to do more work here. Do you have any sense of how old this house is? Because it really has a very old world feel to it. I mean, is this a 100-year-old house or a 70-year-old house, or do you have a sense of how old it was?
I think this is a relatively modern home. I believe it was probably built in the 90s.
Oh, wow.
Maybe early 2000s.
Wow. Okay. So you find this a lot in kind of these higher end luxury neighborhoods where sometimes you really can't tell how old they are, and they're really not that old. And I think that's one of the interesting things about what we do is how new of properties we can actually work on. Even though we're preservationists at heart, I don't think we're limited by the year the house was built.
Yeah, exactly. We love preservation. We love working on our historic homes, but have definitely found here in Dallas for sure that a lot of the more modern builds need our services more than the historic homes do.
Yeah, for sure. So beautiful home, gorgeous neighborhood, kind of target where you would ideally love to get more jobs. How did you get this one specifically?
This one came to us through our Meta online.
Just a Facebook ad, a Facebook or Instagram ad, just one of those kind of, the kind of ads that we run just kind of as an organization.
Yep.
Wow.
Exactly.
Okay. Do you see that when you get some of these jobs like this from the Meta ads, have you been able to turn any of them into referrals where you work on one because of an ad, but you work on the next one because maybe somebody saw the vehicle or because a neighbor? Does that ever happen?
It happens occasionally.
Yeah.
I haven't run the numbers recently, but we do get roughly 10% of our jobs from our vehicles being in neighborhoods. And so it's definitely good to be in those neighborhoods.
Yeah.
It's actually an area of improvement for me here in Dallas to work on getting more referrals from completed jobs.
Yeah, well, I think that's an area of improvement for all home service business owners. We all want to work on getting more from referrals, but I think it's also really healthy when your business doesn't all come from referrals, because if the referrals drive up, you want an engine that keeps on pumping you some leads. And so, no, I'm with you. I want to work on that too here at the corporate location. OKC doing a better job of getting referrals, but it is nice that the Meta works without it. Well, let's You have an engineer background, and so you show up to this big, beautiful house. What was the initial thing that the neighbor communicated before? Were you the one who did this assessment, and what was it that they were looking for before you ever showed up?
So my management team actually is who ended up handling this
Okay.
project from start to finish.
Okay.
This was one of the first jobs that I never actually set foot on.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. So what did you do to educate your team from a guy who has an engineer background? You get a team that's going to help you do projects, help you do quotes. How did you educate them to be able to go through a project of this size and really offer value and really be able to diagnose what the photos we're going to look at here shortly?
It That process of educating and growing my managers and my staff it's been really interesting kind of working through because I had to jump in and learn a ton about windows and doors and everything else, like all of this construction myself. And so for me and Jonathan, my operations manager, who's been with me since the beginning,
Hmm.
kind of been learning together as we've grown and gone through things, how all of the different mechanisms work and everything else. But there's also a ton of content. So I would say, like, when we run up against an issue or something we haven't seen, we search it out
Hmm.
and we spend the time to document it.
Yeah.
We either record a video about that specific mechanism, or we write it down to make sure that we can find it again later so that our newer staff can find it as well.
So I am sure that with Tiffany, who is one of your part of your management team and that does a lot of your assessments, I'm sure you kind of went through the photos with her to kind of build out that quote. So Ben, I'm going to kind of scroll through the photos from the assessment here and just kind of tell me both about like what you were looking at when you looked at this photo and what maybe the issue was that was causing the wood decay.
Yeah, so Tiffany was the one that got the photos, and I definitely worked through it with her when we
Yeah.
were building out the quote, especially for one of this magnitude. It takes a little bit more to make sure that we got everything covered. For these doors specifically,
Yeah.
pretty often what we see is we're looking at a set of French doors. They're on the back of a home.
Mm-hmm.
They are not very well protected.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of overhang.
I see that.
There's going to be a lot of splashback from rain and weather
Mm-hmm.
that hits the bottom of the door.
Yeah.
And so that is typically what we're seeing on these French doors.
This is very common, given that this is a balcony. You've got that kind of tile, which means you are going to get a lot of splashing from the tile. And like you said, it looks like we have definitely less than a 12-inch overhang on this. Makes for that beautiful kind of Tuscan style house, but
Yep.
in areas where you have a lot of rain, that can be problematic. And I guess this is the close-up photo of that same door.
Exactly. So when we're getting photos, we always try to get an establishing shot so we know what we're dealing with. And then we try to get a close up so that we know what we're looking at and how to actually price it out.
Yeah. That it's moved from the outside. Typically, we see is just like it's outside only, but this had moved its way all the way to the inside where the wood decay was visible from the inside.
Yeah, on this home specifically, a lot of the wood decay had made its way fully in through the lower rail in this case on this door.
These are luxury window and doors that are, and we're going to talk a little bit about replacement cost later. But one of the things that we I think really specialize in is the luxury window and door replacement repair area. On the corner, this is a Pella window or a Pella door, and that is one of the key manufacturers that we really focus on repairing windows and doors for, and can offer a lot of value. They're beautiful windows, they're beautiful doors, but they are expensive to replace. A lot of times you can kind of tell who made the window or door by looking in the bottom left-hand corner.
And
It,
that
it
is
is this another door or is this the same one?
This is another set of doors. We
Okay,
try to label them. So the previous one was B1.
gotcha.
This
Yep.
is B2. So that's balcony 1 and 2.
Uh-huh.
These are on the same balcony. So this is same room, next door, which means, especially in this case, if we were going to talk about replacement, you'd be replacing these as a set of both because you want them to match.
What a sales rep will review with you from one of these companies is like, hey, if you want this to be consistent, You're gonna need both of them because a lot of times they change. It's like the way an auto manufacturer, an F-150 today doesn't look like the same as an F-150 20 years ago, and the windows and doors are the same way. They've got new technologies, they've got all kinds of new things. You can't buy a matching set of doors for this anymore.
Exactly.
They don't make them, and so you're going to have to upgrade. And if you want your house to be consistent, you want to maintain property value, you really kind of got to go all the way around and do everything, especially if they're in the same room. I see we've got a little tool out here that's poking.
When we're doing inspections, a lot of times we can just visually kind of understand what's going on, but sometimes we have to pull out some of the tools. In this case, this is an awl or an
Okay.
ice pick.
Yeah.
We got a fancy one that has a cover so we can carry it around in our pocket.
Yeah, it doesn't stab your leg.
But we use it to assess the extent of the damage on a given piece of wood. And so Tiffany was checking for depth and damage and trying to understand what we needed to repair.
Yeah. Now the photos are switching over to some window photos. And is this an operational window or is this a picture window?
This one, I am not sure. I think that this is a functional casement window.
A functional casement window.
Yes.
Can you just explain, because I know a lot of people on here don't know a lot about windows. Explain a little bit about what a casement window is.
Yeah, so casement windows are a specific type of window that opens to the side.
Okay.
They either open to the left or the right. They come in pairs, they come in singles.
So they're hinged. They're hinged like a door rather than going up and down. They swing in and out on a hinge.
They swing in and out on a mechanism. Some of them swing in and out on a hinge. Those are relatively straightforward.
Right.
These specific ones, we have some photos later, but there's actually a track that they slide in.
So definitely I see a ton of rot here.
Yeah,
on the
lots
corners.
of damage on the lower rail.
And I see this often where like the nail that like was holding the corner together starts to be pushed out because of the wood decay or the moisture.
Yep. Yeah, they back out. We see that all the time.
And I'm interested to see some afters as we get there, but we've got a really pretty detailed molding here on this window that's decayed at both corners. This is on the balcony, right? Because it'd be the B3. This is another one on the balcony.
I may have had that wrong. This may actually be back as opposed to balcony.
Got you. And then this is from the inside. So once again, that wood decay is coming in from the inside. On these windows, what on these windows do you think was causing the rot? How is moisture getting into that wood and decaying it?
These are tricky. So there's a few things going on. Typically, when we see this, it's some sort of paint or seal failure.
Okay.
And so it's allowing water to come in, run down the glass, and then come in.
Okay.
But then also, if you flip to that next photo, the inside photo.
Okay. Yeah.
Those fixed shutters trap moisture against the window.
Really? Okay.
Yes. So they don't allow the home HVAC system to properly condition the window itself.
Okay.
And so you see high humidity, which causes paint failure, which then allows damage to the wood.
Gotcha. So you need circulation on the inside and the outside. You need that circulation to keep your windows from holding moisture. Because when okay, so now I'm kind of getting a feel for these casement windows, and I can see there is no hinge. They've got a little crank out mechanism, very common with the Pella windows. Oh, and then there's even a better close-up of that.
Exactly. So yes, this set of windows, we worked on both sides.
Okay.
And yeah, you can see the mechanism here. This sort of mechanism, there are so many variations of it. This was one of our huge learning curves at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them have clips that you just pop them off and they come off. Some of them you have to unscrew. All of them come out in different ways. And so managing that and making sure that our technicians and staff understand that and that we appropriately account for the time involved in making sure that all the measurements go back, as we do repairs has taken some time.
Yeah. I will say this is probably, and you probably agree that when we're recruiting, this is one of the reasons when I'm recruiting, I really like to know what a person's like mechanical aptitude is.
Mhm.
So yeah, having a little bit of construction background is fine. It never hurts that you've hung some drywall or painted something or whatever. But when you've got a mechanical aptitude where you've fixed things and you've kind of tinkered around with something, that makes a huge difference because the epoxy is not really a construction thing. It's more of there's a little bit of creativity to it, and it's more like baking than I think it is like construction. But then you're going to just see so many windows and doors. Like that is just what you're going to see so much of. And you've got to have, at least your technician does, a little bit of mechanical ability because you could know how to frame in a whole house and not know how to fix this right here, not have the right mindset to be patient to figure out how this crank connects to this window and slides out and so on and so forth.
Exactly. I think it's a really big thing, finding people that have a problem-solving mindset.
That's right. That's
You
right.
know, we need folks that are willing to jump in and actually get the way that I've come to describe it, both from my engineering background and from Preservan here,
Yeah.
is I need people who are willing to jump into the middle of a problem and then solve their way out of it.
Yep. That's
Because
exactly that's the kind of person you're looking for. Fortunately, the epoxy is incredibly forgiving. So it's like
exactly.
you can make mistakes with epoxy, but I want you to be willing to dive in and get your hands dirty. I want to stop on this photo as we're kind of scrolling through them because this is something that's really unique that I love. It's good for business. Tell me what we're looking at here.
These sort of sill repairs. What we're looking at right here is, and this is how I know that this is a more modern,
Right.
at least that the windows are more modern on this home. So what we're looking at here is a finger jointed wood sill.
Okay.
And so what they did is they cut all of their little scraps of wood and they glued them together to make longer boards.
That's right. Yeah, because modern wood is technically grown more sustainably, but it's also grown faster.
Yep.
When they cut the boards down, the boards they'll twist and turn because they're not strong enough. And so for that reason, to get long straight links, they have to splice them up outside of the turn or to correct the turning and the warping of the board. And so they do that, and then they have all these little joints which are just glued together. And as over time, moisture gets in and makes it move and makes it rot. And this is done in windows and doors, siding, almost every single exterior like wood feature on a home, wood product is using some version of finger joining in their product.
Exactly. Unless you're spending significant amounts of money, you're going to have finger joint
Yeah.
type
There's a
wood.
close up of it. Uh man, whoa.
Yeah, this one was a fun one. So as Tiffany was doing the assessment, she needed to open this window to understand the extent of the damage to the sill
Yeah?
that could be hiding in there. And this window almost fell out
No
on her.
way.
Yes. So we had to call Jonathan to come out, bring his ladder, and actually help her get this window closed up
And
and sealed
Jonathan's
back
your
up.
lead tech, kind of runs the operations. He's got the mechanical background to come in and help. Oh,
Exact.
man.
Well, he had the suction cups to do it and
That's
everything
right.
else.
Yeah, because you're on a second floor. It's not like you can just push it in. Someone's got to pull it. Like, man.
Exactly. And it turned out that there were two other windows that needed to be closed as well that the neighbor had not been able to close.
Okay.
So we were able to build a significant amount of goodwill and prove our knowledge from the get-go.
It is like getting out there, getting online and kind of breaking it down and going like, hey, this is a Pella window. And I need to learn everything I can about Pella windows from 1999 and then dive into the mechanics of them to understand how they work and understand how can we repair the rot on them. I want to stop here on this photo. We've got some wood decay. Zoom up again. We've got the finger jointing that's causing the rot. We've got the nails poking out.
So the cause of the rot on this window was probably a combination of two things. This is the southern exposure.
Okay.
So direct sunlight, very intense summer sun here in Texas causes paint failure
Mm-hmm.
and causes your paint and your seals to fail really
Okay.
rapidly. But then also, it's right up against a flower bed,
Mm-hmm.
and the bushes are growing right up to the windowsill right there. Who knows how much moisture there may be sprinklers hiding back there that it's
Yep.
getting wet every day or every other day. That really accelerates the damage
Man,
on.
you add the moisture plus the constant sunlight, and that's a good recipe for wood decay. How often in your area do you see that the wood decay is caused by rain versus how often do you see that it feels like it's caused by either a gutter failure, like some sort of like water management failure, or it's caused by like sprinkler systems? How do you feel like it's kind of a natural cause, it was always going to rot, versus it was preventable if we were running the sprinkler on it or we were getting the water moved away with the gutter?
I would say the damage root cause of the wood deterioration that we see is actually fairly well spread out between
Okay.
your sort of natural rain causes, sprinklers, or like gutter water management failures.
Okay.
The big thing that I see is a failure to maintain things
Yeah,
consistently. So, like, this window is an excellent example. You can see that the paint
that's right.
has failed.
That's right.
Almost every job that we show up to, that is the ultimate root cause.
Yeah, paint failure.
And I blame that on the paint industry,
Right.
honestly.
Yeah.
We have paints claiming to have a 10 or 20-year warranty. And so people have their home painted and think they don't need to worry about it for 20 years.
Yeah.
But they really need to be checking it every year and touching it up every year.
Especially on these low areas, if they're really close to concrete or masonry products, because that masonry is holding moisture, that moisture is
Exactly.
leaching into the wood. So there's even some bigger issues with like how the house was constructed originally, if it had protection on the other side of it, which if you own a house, you can't do anything about that now. And you don't always have to think about repainting your house. You need to think about like being okay with touching up the paint, because you look at this and go like, about a foot up from the sill, it probably is fine. But it was this bottom part that probably needed a touch-up coat every handful of years to keep this issue from happening.
Probably, yes. If they had touched up the paint on just the lower part of those windows every
Yeah.
3 years, they probably would have been okay without us coming.
Ben, these photos stay pretty consistent as we go through them. Just the kind of the issues just kind of continue to compound as you go around. And Tiffany was just assessing this whole project. Let's talk about just where the neighbor, the homeowner, was at in this. This looks like a lot of windows, and it looks like a very expensive replacement project. Did you have any conversations with them about, had they looked at replacement and kind of what was that going to look like for a replacement project?
I So the replacement conversation that we had with this neighbor, I'm not really sure the full extent of the information they had gathered.
Yeah.
What I have found here in Dallas is most folks, when they see us, they call us first.
Okay.
And so we only get to have a really detailed replacement conversation maybe 10% of the time.
Okay. Okay, probably my guess is that they're just afraid of what the costs are. It doesn't take. One interesting piece of information that we can share is that Journal of Light Construction every single year does this like cost versus value report. And in the cost versus value report, they just basically say that the average cost of replacing a standard wood window is $2,000. And nothing that we've looked at here is standard, because standard is like a basic, like really boring, one piece of glass up here, one piece of glass down here, goes up and down like this. And we're seeing we call detailed simulated divided light with all those cross bars and everything like that. Like I said, these are luxury grade window. This is a Pella window. These are all casements. So I'm just ballparking this thing here, but it seems like this is a six-figure and beyond potential replacement project. Also, given that they're 20 years old, And to keep them all matching, you'd have to replace every single one of them because they don't make this window anymore. Is that sound about accurate for the Dallas market?
Yes, I would say based on some other quotes that we have heard about for replacement cost on windows, that this would have been a multiple six-figure replacement job.
Let's just talk a little bit about how you guys put together the assessment or the quote for the neighbor. Just kind of lay out what this project ultimately became after walking through with the homeowner.
Yeah, so this project in total ended up being 3 doors on those 2 pairs of French doors and 12 windows.
Okay,
It was 5 sets of casement windows and then the 2 picture windows.
so definitely not
And
all of them.
definitely not all of them.
Definitely not all
Exactly.
of
It
them.
was actually a small subset of the windows that needed repair.
Okay. So and then what was the total project cost on this?
The total project cost for this one was 25,090.
90. Man, but to your point we just shared earlier, like even though that is a big number, it is a significantly lower number than the overall replacement cost. It sounds like you guys will have some opportunity to go back and continue to do some more work as the homeowner and the neighbor is ready for that. Is that accurate? You guys still have some more to do there?
I believe we were able to repair the majority of what they needed,
Okay.
but there were, just flipping through the photos, there are 10 other sets of French doors that we didn't work on.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So I expect we will be able to aid them in the future.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's kind of move ahead and let's talk about the actual project that we did and like just go through kind of the process of it. Tell us what's happened in this photo kind of as the process of our repair.
Yeah, so for our repairs, typically the way that they go when the damage is this extensive, we had to remove the casement window itself. So you
Okay.
can see the mechanism is tucked back
Yep.
into up above the sill. And then the technician has dug out all the rot. They've
Okay.
masked off the stonework
Uh-huh.
and they are getting ready to apply the epoxies now.
Okay, so this is ready for application.
Yes.
You got all that bad and you got all the bad wood or most of the bad wood out of there. We're back to kind of some solid stuff, even though it's still a little soft. What's like the first step after this?
So the first step here is they will apply what we call a consolidant,
Okay.
which is a really thin epoxy that soaks into the wood and gives it back the strength that it needs.
Okay. Okay. So we'll apply that consolidant, and then on top of the consolidant, what comes next?
So once the consolidant has been applied, we're going to apply a filler,
Okay.
which is essentially the same epoxy, but it's got filler additives in it. So we're able to get a chemical bond between the two products,
Yeah.
which is what allows us to have the lifetime of repair that we get.
Gotcha. Right. Because it's not like, some products like a Bondo or just a basic wood filler. They're setting when you put that stuff on top of the decayed area, that's just like floating on top. And it has some adhesion, but not much. And so with much expansion and contraction, it's gonna break free, mainly because products like Bondo were designed for metal, which doesn't expand and contract at the rate that something that's getting a lot of moisture in it like this is. And then the wood fillers, typical like Minwax and different types of wood fillers, those are designed for interior like
Yep.
touch-ups and repairs. Once again, where you're not getting a lot of moisture, a lot of expansion and contraction. And so it's that chemical bond between the base product and the top filler product that give it that 10-year warranty. That's what we're looking at here on this corner. Now, if I'm a homeowner, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, well, that doesn't look very good.
Yeah, it looks like a third grader
It's
worked on
right.
my
It's right.
windows. So what we have here is the end of application.
Okay.
The epoxy is still soft at this point, and so we are going to let it sit overnight so that it cures up and gets hard. And then we can come back and do our final sanding and shaping to match all of the profiles and get that seamless repair.
That makes sense. And so yeah, the first day we just need it to cure. We've kind of built it up and over, and then we're going to kind of sand it down, smooth it down, and really sculpt it in. I come across your before and after, of the window sash. Now, you told me that you did have to take these off, and I can see that they are in the garage. This looks incredible. Like, it's really impressive what you guys were able to do with the system, and how much this is really fixing everything for them, get the hardware back on there the right way. And going back, this is not something you could do with Bondo because that would never actually hold, right? It would just kind of fall off eventually, right?
Exactly. So when we arrive to do repairs, oftentimes we are removing Bondo. And
Really?
so I actually have a piece here. We removed this from a repair, and you can see it took the shape, it filled the hole, but it only lasted a year before it fell out.
I think we're
Exactly.
back to a similar photo, or maybe close to the one that we began with, as we start to see the repair. And I can tell that this one's been sanded down, right? So we're sanding it down and kind of honing it in there.
Yep. And then here it is primed.
Here it is
This is
primed.
this is the completion of repairs, and then we've primed them.
Yeah.
This homeowner, this neighbor was going to have their home repainted once we were
Okay.
done, so we just needed to prime everything to prep for that.
That happens fairly often. A lot of times these things come up as somebody's considering having their house repainted, and they realize they can't have their house repainted until this. So networking with painters is a pretty solid strategy,
It definitely can be.
because sometimes the painters might fix it, but when the painters are looking at windows that are completely gone, the painter doesn't want to mess with this. They need somebody who can kind of go the next level and help them keep their project, because they would lose the project if they went window replacement. And it's kind of a win-win for the painter and for us and the homeowner. Homeowner's saving money, painter's getting to keep a project, and we're getting to pick up a project.
Exactly. Luxury painters have been a great referral partner for us. They encounter this type of thing, and they know that it's beyond what they want to deal with.
Now into some door photos. Is
Mhm.
there anything differently that you guys had to do for a door just so it maintains operation?
The doors versus window repairs, it's typically the same,
Okay,
especially on casement windows, because those are kind of miniature doors.
that's right.
The height is you have to be very careful to get the height correct so that
Okay.
all of the seals and everything line up correctly.
Do you have to take the doors off sometimes to repair them
Sometimes.
and put them on the salt horses again, like you did the windows?
Yeah, so door repairs, it's really dependent on what the bottom of the door itself looks like. If the bottom of the door is intact and the seal is there, then we can often repair them in place because you just dig the rod out and
Hmm.
build it back. You build back whatever lower rail damage is there,
Yeah,
and you're good to go.
yeah, man.
Sometimes the entire bottom of the door has disintegrated, but you have to take off and rebuild.
Yeah, it's really impressive what you guys do, and then of course across the organization. I see just the wildest of repairs, and I know there's a lot of creative methods that are part of a little bit of the secret sauce that we don't share on YouTube, but it is still impressive, just kind of the ingenuity that goes into this, the creativity that goes into this. As you think about this project, beautiful home, awesome project, big ticket, what was the biggest challenge for you guys doing this project?
So the biggest challenge on this project was the size and scope of it.
Yeah.
This took the entire team working for 6 days.
How many people did you have on this job for 6 days?
Yeah. So on this job, we had two technicians and my operations manager for 6 days,
Okay.
working essentially full time to do all the repairs, but then also to problem solve and figure out as we got into things and figured out like, oh, that piece doesn't exist anymore. What are we doing?
Yeah. Is that generally how you guys work, where you have like the whole team on one job, or is that primarily because of the size and scope of this specific job?
That the team that shows up to a job is entirely dependent on the scope of the job itself.
Okay.
So for a job this size, we deploy as much of the team as we can.
Sure.
Goal is to keep a project short
Right.
timeline wise for our neighbors.
That's right. Kind of respect their time. These are busy people that don't want us in their house for days on end.
Exactly. We could have had one technician on it, and it would have taken them a month.
Right. Right.
There's also an aspect, it depending on the scope of the job, like if we're removing a casement window on a second floor,
Hmm.
we need 2 people there just for the safety of my technicians
Yeah.
and the to not damage the
That's
home itself.
That's right. Yep. And I guess that's probably a lot of what Jonathan, kind of your operational guy, who he does some field work, but he's also kind of organizing everybody.
Exactly. One of his roles is to fill in and be that second person on a job site to ensure, like today, different job, they had to remove a front door that was 4 feet wide and 2 inches thick.
I think he's weighing hundreds of pounds.
Yes,
That's a heavy door.
200
Yeah.
plus pounds.
Yeah. Wow. So project gets done. How did the homeowner feel about the project once we got completed? What was kind of their feedback from it?
They were ecstatic.
Yeah.
You know, so the neighbor for this home was ecstatic with the work that we did from the start of the project, where they had windows that weren't closing and weren't sealed and storms were coming. We were able to help them there. And then getting the project done and them seeing the quality of work that we're able to do, but then also the extent of the damage that was there once we actually started removing things. They were very happy that they had us come and do these repairs.
I am sure they're happy they didn't have to go through a replacement project. You know, there's the cost element of a replacement project, but there's also just the disruptiveness of a replacement project, because you're talking about having massive holes opened up in your beautiful home, and you know the elements and the construction crews and the sawzalls and the noise and just all of that, as opposed to kind of a targeted repair where most of our work was done from the outside. There was some done on the inside, but a lot of it was done from the outside. So it's significantly less disruptive, much better for them. From a business standpoint, how happy were you with the project?
This was a fantastic project for the business. We were profitable. We actually outperformed our target rates
Okay.
and were able to learn a significant amount at the same time.
Yeah, and it made a heck of a week. I mean, 6 days, almost $30,000. That's a really good week for the business, and really kind of helps you grow, helps you gain credibility when you're working on a project of this size. You're able to kind of say, like, look at what we did, and it does. And there's so many positive factors for a job of this scope. You got an incredible team that I think makes projects like this happen. And to your point, you said at the beginning, like, the person that really kind of came through was the you know, you made the right hire early on, and Jonathan's been an incredibly valuable part of that process, and of course you got Tiffany and the rest of the crew. Uh, I want you to give us one last piece of advice, and I want you to give this advice out there to the homeowner. If I've got a house and you know, we're here to help to do your wood rot repairs or wood decay repairs. But if I want to reduce the amount of replacement or repair that I need to do on my house, what is the one piece of advice you'd give me?
I would say for homeowners looking to take care of their homes or avoid these huge replacement or repair bills, the biggest thing that you can do is go outside every year and inspect your entire home. If you have the funds, pay an inspector to
Yeah,
come inspect your home. The small amount of maintenance that you can do year to year will save an incredible amount of money in the long run.
absolutely. Absolutely. Ben, if they live in this part of the Dallas area where you serve, Highland Park, Park Cities, should they just kind of reach out to you and you'll come walk around their house and check and see if they have any wood rot problems?
So if someone's in Dallas, we can definitely come and do an assessment of their home and help
Yeah,
them find the folks that they may need access to.
yeah,
If they don't have any rot identified, there may be some better
sure.
people to start off that inspection, but I know those people
Yeah,
and I'm happy to make that connection.
yeah. Ben, thanks for your time. You're amazing at serving your neighbors there in Dallas. You're amazing at serving our greater franchise organization. This guy is always sharing his experience with everybody, and that's what our culture is all about here, building a business together. Ben, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Ty. I had a great time talking about this and look forward to doing it again soon.
Thank you so much for watching this video and learning alongside me about Preservan and the service that we provide for our neighbors and how we do wood rot repair across the country. I hope you found value in this episode. If you have got wood rot on your house and you're looking for somebody to restore it and repair it, like Ben and I talked about, I want to encourage you to find the link in the description below and get connected with our team so we can find a time for one of our local experts to get connected with you and get you a free assessment. And if you've watched this and you're interested in maybe opening up a Preservan in your area, you're watching this, you're like, I got a lot of houses like this in my area. I got a lot of wood rot. I want to personally get connected with you. Just go to gopreservan.com. There's a form there. Fill that out. You and I will get connected. The link is in the description. Or, you could also just go to LinkedIn. Find me there. Just search Ty McBride. Later.